to start, it was originally like a poem I wrote, and I decided to base an epic book off of it, and I'm about like 60 pages in since, for like the past year, and well, I decided to bring it here today. I kind of looked at it today, and I wanted to breathe new life into it and bring it back to you guys today, so this is The Palace of Pestilence. Let us all now go to a place that is bleak and dark, a palace where only mushrooms and abominations grow, the very place we are to embark. This keep is ominous and evil, and where a malicious and twisted monster dwells, sardonically grinning in the blackness, weaving and dividing his blooded spells. He claims his victims' souls through the fears of their very worst nightmares, forever lost, leaving the cobblestone walls with lonely stairs, chained to a hard surface for the rest of their days to keep the wall company. Skeletal remains litter the secluded room, adding much to its subtlety. Hardened men come far and wide from lands and isles, wielding battle axes and scimitars, as well as nomads of the forest and warriors from a grassy plain, worshipping Mars. Men and women with face paint who collect skulls and fight naked to show their scars, and the druids who hunt with the wolves, the very ones who hunted nights and many under the stars. These heroes came not prepared and met their grisly demise at the face of the void. They were denied eternal paradise, as both body and soul would be destroyed. After the brave were turned into slaves to the dreadful tyrant known as Drepthor, new legends stood ready to fight, venturing over Black Sea and Maelstrom, a hunting party of 4. Hunting the immortal Duke turned king, back from the dead to wreak havoc upon society, back from the great beyond to usurp this undead kingdom in which he is now the deity. Put to death by his people for crimes against humanity, and has come back for centuries to rob these lands of sanctity. The 4 brave souls survived the perilous journey, storming the castle wall. Their arms and legs shook as they scaled up, fighting on with all of the gear they had to haul. Bodies wanting to give way, but they fought on as they had trained hard. Countless hours of physical and mental training that had left their bodies scarred. The first to reach the top of the wall was Rashid of the East, a man wearing a cloth shroud known to read and write, a man much like a priest. Following a path of righteousness and devotion to Allah brought him peace. His younger venerated brother had come to this land seeking fortune and fame. Woe was he, rotten and deceased. Before his wedding night was his bride, Khalida, taken from him. Rashid was then filled with newfound agony and power. By the love of God, he sang to himself a hymn. Rashid would set this right, and he would use the fury and flames of the scorching sun to put it to light. The second to reach the top was a Nordic warrior by the name of Vernon of the North. The sturdy and hefty Norseman who enjoyed drunken debauchery and bloodshed was set forth. Wrapped in bear fur and naked underneath, the massive and jolly oaf sharpened his precious axe. His father had come to this land seeking valor and honor, allowing much time to elapse. For the eternal glory of homeland and the divine favor of the all-powerful gods, Vernon of the North would march with his axe in his hands, searching for Drepthor to even the odds. Vernon expected an epic fight, and he would laugh over Drepthor's corpse before guiding his father to Valhalla with torchlight. The third to reach their peak was a Gaelic huntress by the name of Merrill of the West. She wore a pine green cloak and held dearly a relic of her widowing spouse close to her breast. Fine red hair set flame to her pale white face, covered in freckles and war paint, swearing she would finally rid this once beautiful land of all the death and taint. Crystalline tears formed in her eyes, as green and blue as the 7 seas. Her husband sought the ashes of Drepthor to end a decade-long drought, hoping Mother Gaia would hear their pleas. Merrill held back her tears of rage with all of her might, and she would later drown him with those tears under moonlight. The last to reach the top was an escaped slave during the fall of Rome, Lycus of the South. A statuesque gladiator was quite familiar with oppression, who lived only by word of mouth. Battle hardened in the bloodiest pits in the Colosseum, taking life so that he might see another day. He had no living family, friends, or home. He was always left to wander, most often into the fray. It is not the size of the dog, in a fight, but the size of the fight in the dog, as Lycus would have said. The greatest glory beckoned him. He would see to it that Dripthor was dead. Lycus craved true battle. This was his delight, and he would sneak in with a dagger, blowing out candlelight. They all stood confident before the tower, all of them with pride in their finest hour. Soldiers rose from their desecrated graves. Dripthor's demonic laughter echoed throughout the caves as he unleashed his army of the dead and depraved. Valiantly the four survived the test, under constant attack by corpses possessed. Lest to forget, our mortal coils are so fragile, especially in the world where humans have become so hostile. For riches and over differences has religion killed, leaving the world and the soul of mortal man chilled. The battle to save all mankind has begun. To unite and conquer our fears, we must become one. Within the haunting halls, suits of armor came to life. Steel blades and wits met to match, their hearts filled with bitter strife. Welcome to the Palace of Pestilence, the unholy Mecca to wipe humans from existence. The struggle within the labyrinth lasted 3 days. Fighting through the thousands of dead Dripthor was willing to raise. Upon entering the inner chamber did they feel their impending doom, fighting every skeleton, corpse, and carcass within this never-ending tomb. The battle against Dripthor was quick and fierce, and through space and time fabric did the hand of Dripthor pierce. "Enter if you dare," said the Dark Lord as he made his escape. Dread and fear filled their boiling blood as an otherworldly threshold began to take shape. One by one, they followed him into the portal. Entering the black hole, they left behind all that had made them mortal. Succumbing to a bright light, were they now in the here and after? A fantasy world full of life and color unraveled before them, but all around them was demonic laughter.
Wow.